The air in a tailor's workshop at the dawn of the 19th century did not smell of mass production or cold machinery. Instead, it carried the heavy, comforting scent of pressed wool, beeswax, and the faint, metallic tang of charcoal heated irons. To step inside such a space was to leave the frantic pace of the cobblestone streets behind and enter a realm where time was measured not by the ticking of a clock, but by the steady, rhythmic pull of a needle through heavy fabric. This was a world of absolute precision, where a man's status was quite literally stitched into the seams of his coat, and the local tailor was the silent architect of social identity. In this era, the tailor's workbench, often called a board, was the heart of the operation. Unlike the standing desks of modern craftsmen, tailors of the 1800s famously sat cross-legged atop these wide wooden platforms. This position allowed them to keep the heavy cloth close to their eyes and provided a flat surface to manage the immense weight of greatcoats and formal morning suits. The lighting was natural and precious. Workstations were always huddled near tall, drafty windows to catch the fleeting northern sun. When the shadows grew long in the late afternoon, the workspace was illuminated by the flickering glow of oil lamps or tallow candles, casting dramatic, elongated shadows against walls lined with paper patterns and wooden spools. The tools of the trade were deceptively simple, yet they required a lifetime of muscle memory to master. The tailor's primary companion was the shears, massive, heavy iron scissors, often over 12 inches long, kept razor sharp to slice through thick English wool like silk. Beside them sat the goose, a specialized iron named for its curved handle. These irons were solid blocks of metal heated directly on a coal stove. A tailor had to judge the temperature of the goose by holding it near his cheek or flicking a drop of water onto its base. Too cold, and the seam wouldn't hold. Too hot, and a month's worth of work could be scorched in a second. Measurement was an intimate, almost mathematical ritual. Before the standardization of sizes, a tailor used parchment strips or simple cloth tapes to record the unique topography of a client's body. They didn't just measure height and width, they accounted for the slope of a shoulder, the curve of a spine, and the way a man carried himself when he walked. The goal was to create a second skin. In the early 1900s, the silhouette was everything. For the European gentleman, this meant high-waisted trousers, stiffened collars, and the iconic frock coat, which required a complex internal structure of horsehair padding and canvas to maintain its rigid, powerful shape. As the needle moved, the shop was rarely silent. It was a place of quiet focus, punctuated by the snip-snip of shears and the rhythmic thud of the iron. The materials used were a testament to durability: heavy linens for the lining, genuine silk for the buttonholes, and buttons carved from horn, bone, or polished brass. There was a profound sense of slow fashion long before the term existed. A single suit could take upwards of 80 hours of labor, involving thousands of invisible stitches designed to strengthen the garment from the inside out. This was clothing built to last a lifetime, often passed down from father to son, repaired and relined as the decades wore on. By the turn of the 20th century, specifically the Edwardian era of the early 1910s, the world began to shift. The introduction of early Treadle sewing machines started to speed up the process, but the elite, bespoke houses of London, Paris, and New York clung to the old ways. They understood that a machine could never replicate the subtle tension of a hand-sewn shoulder or the soft roll of a lapel shaped by a master's thumb. The local tailor remained a pillar of the community, a man who knew his neighbors' secrets, their successes, and their physical flaws, masking them all behind the elegance of fine broadcloth and perfect proportions. Looking back at those dimly lit workshops, we see more than just a vanished trade. We see a dedication to excellence that feels increasingly rare in our modern, disposable world. The 19th century tailor didn't just make clothes, he preserved a standard of human dignity. Every crease pressed by the heavy iron and every stitch pulled tight by a calloused finger was an act of rebellion against the mediocre. Thank you for joining me on this trip through time. If you enjoyed this deeper look into history, hit like, subscribe, and share your own family tailoring stories in the comments. Let's keep these traditions alive. Until next time, stay timeless.